think it's a wise move to buy. And let me just say, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just speaking from my own watching the patterns, listening to specialist analysis, for example, like Michael Oliver, for example. I've been listening to him quite a lot, for example. So, for example, what do you think that the stacking target is for 2025? I'd love to hear your comments in the chat. So let's look at the financial shift here. Now, here's something that's sending shockwaves. The former president, well, President Trump, for example, recently made a, he's quite good at making these cryptic clues, for example, cryptic social media posts referring to the golden rule. He says that many believe it's a signal. Well, some people believe that it's a signal of imminent financial system reset. Don't take my word for it. This is what I've been hearing from some of the analysis, but also he's mentioned this. And one that favors gold holders, for example. As central banks around the world quietly abandon US treasuries, for example, and shift towards physical gold reserves, we could be witnessing the largest global wealth transfer in modern history. Away from the fiat, that's cash, for example, hard money. If this really unfolds, if this reset unfolds, that means that holding physical gold and silver could be a new financial elite. So let me just go through this, right? President Trump has made this move where he says, he who holds the golden, who is golden holds all of the power, basically. That's what he was saying in his post on social media, for example. Now, are you buying physical silver? Are you buying gold right now? Have you added silver to your retirement for a long-term plan? Because silver is a long-term plan. It's not a quick over the night. A lot of people, what they tend to do is they sell while the price is, slightly high. They think, it's a good time to sell. And yes, if you need to do that, then that is another story, for example. But do you trust the US dollar long term? I'd love to know your comments, for example. Now, let me go further here. Scenario A, 105 to 1 ratio doesn't come often, does it? For some of you that are silver stackers, gold stackers, bullion, for example. And when silver rebounds, it shows that it moves fast. You don't have to go all in. Just plan smart. Make a start, for example. Because this is really something that is taking us into another level, for example. I would also love to say as well that because of how gold moves, usually silver is also drawn to it to magnify. But there's a lot of millionaires, there's a lot of central banks, a lot of government organizations where they're actually ordering physical gold, but also they're ordering a lot of silver because that they know that the silver demand is running out of the supply, for example. So they know that the silver is going to reach a peak, for example, because the demand. But this isn't being mentioned on mainstream media, for example. It's not being mentioned enough. No one's hardly talking about this. And we really should be talking about it, because the gold is amazing, but also silver is the one that's going to really push forward. And someone says, so someone's saying, I'd like to believe it. Yeah, good. I'm glad that you're buying gold and silver, because if you buy both, you've got the gold for if you need to buy something, because in America, gold is becoming a monetary system where you can actually use it in some states, depending on what type of gold it is that you've got. So someone says, silver up $1 right now. Yeah, silver is going up. And I believe that silver is like the tortoise that won the race. You know the story of the tortoise and the hare? I believe that silver is the secret sauce. And I'm purchasing silver, for example, and I'll show you, for example, I purchased this silver coin, for example, it's a collector's coin. There's 15,000 worldwide, for example, it's an Australian coin, for example, and it's got the Queen Elizabeth on there, for example, and it's a $1. But I purchased this and I was drawn to it, and it's a silver coin, a 1 ounce coin. I was drawn to it because it's got my logo on, for example. You'll see the logo in the watermark. And I purchased this for about $35, for example. Okay? When I took it home, for example, I then checked it online to see what the valuation is as well, and it came up with $60 or more, for example. I mean, the dealer said it's worth about, I paid $35, he said it's worth about $5. It's like I made $5 whilst I was in the shop. But when I went home, for example, it turned out that it's actually worth more than that. But this isn't what I'm looking to sell instantly. I'm looking to build my legacy, my wealth.